Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and welcome to Command Power, the show in which we discuss all things Magic the Gathering with a focus on Commander. And today we have another episode in our Spoiler Spotlight series in which I talk about, well, spoilers and tell you what my thoughts are on them. But before that, just a quick reminder to click subscribe if you enjoy my videos. We're well on our way to 1 million subscribers and your support means everything to me. And today we're going to be talking about Mines of Moria, a legendary land with Mines of Moria enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature, tap, add red, and 3 colorless 1 red, tap, exile 3 cards from your graveyard, create 2 treasure tokens. So first off, all the cards in this cycle are very good for one simple reason. They're almost always going to be better than a basic land in your deck because you can either weave them in and sequence them so that the coming in tapped doesn't affect you too much, or you'll probably have a legendary creature out because of your commander, at which point they're just better than a basic land. It's a very interesting design and cards like these tend to be very good because of that, just because of the fact that they can go into so many different decks, even if you don't necessarily need the ability on the card. However, the ability on this card is actually fairly strong. You're getting 2 treasure tokens. As we know, treasure tokens are some of the strongest tokens you can make in Commander, and they give you a huge boost. This card does have a pretty hefty cost compared to some of the other cards in this cycle. You will need to exile 3 cards from your graveyard and pay 4 mana, so it's not cheap to get those treasure tokens. However, it is just free upside on what is basically a basic mountain, so I think it's worth considering in that sense. The reason this is also not as tough as it seems to activate is because red decks are generally dumping a lot of cards into their graveyard anyway. You have a lot of rummaging effects in red, such as faithless looting and things like that, which means that your graveyard gets full very quickly, and at that point it's not that difficult to exile 3 cards from it. The issue is in certain deck types you might not be wanting to exile those cards that much. For example, in a Spellslinger red-blue deck, you probably do want to keep those cards in so that you can eventually flash them back or bring them back from the graveyard. And in a Reanimator red-black kind of deck, you probably want to keep your creatures in the graveyard, but other card types which might incidentally get there are still fair game and can be safely removed to give you a huge boost in mana. So where I think this card is going to shine is in decks that can really use the treasure tokens or really want artifacts. So a deck that I thought about immediately was something like Brutaclad. This is very good in Brutaclad. This is a great card in the Brutaclad deck because you have stuff in your graveyard that you are absolutely fine with exiling. You don't really play with the graveyard very much in that deck, so as it gets fuller and fuller, those cards aren't really giving you any tangible advantage. You might as well get rid of them, and getting tokens, and specifically artifact tokens in that deck, is huge. They're incredibly relevant to your game plan, and being able to make them at instant speed at the end of your opponent's turn is a huge benefit. Other decks that might like this card are decks that care about legendaries. So for example, again, I talk about these kind of decks a lot, but Yoshimaru decks or Shanid decks or any kind of deck that is really based around legendaries and is running red will be happy to have this card in it because most of those decks don't tend to use the graveyard that much as well. And this land being legendary triggers a bunch of their effects whilst basically acting like a basic land, so there's not that much downside to running it, and occasionally if you have some mana left over you can just make some treasures, so it does seem good in those kind of decks. The final deck where this will be quite strong is in decks that want to have a really big one-off turn, or maybe storm off or combo off, and they absolutely need to have some extra mana to make sure that they can definitely go off on that turn. In that case, it might definitely be worth taking off the turn prior and exiling some stuff from your graveyard just to make sure you have those treasures that are going to guarantee you have enough mana to hit your combo. In any case, I think it's a really solid card. It's a little bit more costly than some of the other ones in this cycle, but should still be very good. So there you have it. Those have been my thoughts on this new spoiler. What do you think about this card? Please let me know in the comment section below. I read all comments and respond to all of them too. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click like or subscribe. It really helps the channel. And until next time, take care. Woo!